Jascina, tell us about your career so far in a nutshell.
I moved in London about 15 years ago. So I'm from France, from South America first, and then moved to France, studied in France, then came here. So that was like a really international journey to here. And then when I was studying in France, I studied marketing. So what I wanted to do is international marketing. So I went to school in Vancouver and in London. And then I wanted to improve my English, so that's how I started. So I decided to come back in London, spend 6 months to a year here, just to improve and have the vocabulary that I will need to be a bit more competitive when I go back in France, and actually stayed here because I enjoyed the life. So I had like few work or jobs within the field that I wanted to work in, just because of the vocabulary I wanted to get. And then applied for a graduate scheme at Ipsos, which is a global research company. So I got the job there and worked for them for about 10 years. And then, so I worked in marketing mainly, market research. So I always wanted to understand how customers reacted to whatever was put in front of them, how we could also influence their behavior and choices, but also how other, I would say, external factors could impact on them. So I don't feel that I would have defined it this way when I was younger, but I definitely knew that that's what I wanted to do. So I know that when I started at Ipsos and talking to different colleagues, for example, they will mention that they worked in this field not always by choice, but by luck or by opportunities, while for me always been a choice. So that's how my career started here in London. So at Ipsos I worked for the marketing team doing forecasting, concept testing, and then worked for the brand and comms team, so working on advertising testing, brand performance, competitive analysis. And then after 10 years, I kind of wanted a break. And then I've been approached for the role at William Hill. So I didn't know much about gambling. I knew what it was about and I knew the brand, but not much about it. But because I think I'm quite curious and I like the challenge, I thought I would come for the interview, have a chat with the director at the time, and then see what it was about. And then, yeah, that's how I arrived here. So carrying on in the same pursuit to remain in this field. But with my next challenge, which is here now.
You've run through some of the points in your career. What are the pivotal moments in your career? What are the things that have got you to where you are today?
I think it was mainly maybe because of the chances to learn all the time. So it's not a field where you can feel that, you know, I've learned this and this is definite. You keep learning, and because I work for research companies, so you have different clients, so you're being challenged all the time. So it's not like you're working in one sector for one field for one specific product, and therefore you just rely on this. In my case, he was working with different clients at the time who will be challenging you, because obviously what they would want is for their brands to be performing better, to be more competitive, to make more money, to have more market share. So I would say that's what kept me going. And then also the people you work with, which is really key, because if you don't like where you work, or you don't like the people, then it's really hard to wake up every morning and come to work. So I would say that would be the key moments, especially because in terms of, I would say, network support, it will come, or support network, it will come more from the people I've known here, while my families are all away, so it's harder when you have a roommate, you know. So if you have, like, at least if at work you're happy-ish, then it helps. And then I will say maybe also having people who just like push you or give you this confidence, because maybe when you start or when you go, you want to go or move forward. I think especially in my case, I will say that before it was more about, okay, but, you know, would people feel that I'm capable of doing it? While now I'm more about, you know, am I capable of doing it? And then you go and try, and then, you know, be more reassured. But that helped me, I will say, forge my personality.
Yeah, so what about your personal drive and ambition then? That strikes me, obviously you're learning new languages to do the job that you want to do, so that must have been a key part of getting you to where you are today.
Yes, it was, though it was not so much about learning a new language, because I learned it at school and I studied in English, and I went to North America and then in London to carry on improving my English. But it was definitely, yes, a big drive to, want to carry on over us. It's quite easy to say, well, hold on a minute, that's way too challenging. I'll go back where I know, I know what I'm doing. While I think, because I'm curious and also I like the challenge, that kind of helped, I would say.
What have been the biggest challenges for you during the career? There have been certain things that have been difficult to overcome?
Yes, I think sometimes maybe when you think that you're failing, or you think that you're failing, but maybe people would then see it this way. But if that's your your belief, then sometimes you just have to overcome it somehow. So I would say that was the biggest challenge. But I think the more you get older, or the more you learn, or you're aware of what you're capable of what you don't know, but that you can find a way around it, then the more confident you are around it. So that's what's helping.
Thinking about your current role, what are the things that inspire you the most?
I wouldn't say it's a new role, but the department started about 4 or 5 years ago. Before I joined, knowing that William had been there for longer. So it's still I would say sometimes a challenge to bring the insight within the decision making, but I know that now people are more and more open to do things that are consumer centric, so that's really good. But it's also, from our perspective, is also making sure that people understand what we do, how this can help them, and demonstrate it, because I think it's not always good just to say, oh, we're here, we will help you, when it hasn't been part of the decision process before. So now bringing it in-house is kind of, okay, but hold on a minute, we used to do things a certain way and it worked. So whatever you will have to say or how to do or how to demonstrate will help us. This is really being part of it and showing that by working in synergy, we can do better things, I would say. So, and I think my job is also to make sure that I work with people and not just tell them, okay, this is the data and this is what he says, and then move forward and let them carry on with it. It's very much about working with them and trying to understand also what they do themselves, and whether what I'm doing can help them or not, or whether maybe our experience from doing some other stuff might help in what they're doing. So,
finally, how would you sum up William Hill being a great place to work, if you were trying to tell someone from outside the company why it was such a great place to be?
I think the people are really interesting. There's a lot of people with a lot of belief, with a lot of knowledge. I think lots of people have been there for a long time, and it just sums it up, really. When I look at, actually, I was looking at some videos on inspirational people who've been there for 40 years, for example, and you see how they started and how this has been really part of their lives. I think that's one of the ways. And also, I think it's a big company who has the opportunities, and they just need maybe to, realize it somehow, and also be ready to be challenged, because it will just help the team and the company grow. And there's a lot of people here who are willing to do that.